I guess that's what the call to order.
Call to order. We
All
should
right,
give you a gavel.
Yeah, no, exactly. I hereby call the December 14th Children's Guild Board meeting to order.
Very good. Yeah, and you can just take us through the agenda.
Great. All right, so we're going to open it up for the public comment period for, I guess, about 10 minutes. Is there anything that anybody needs to say at this moment on any issues that they want to talk about specifically, so that we can note them and bring it up either later on in the meeting or for the next meeting?
Robert, just so you know, because I know we really haven't had an in-person meeting. Usually, just for your information, all the other new board members, generally what happens is that these are people from the community have an opportunity to speak up at the meeting, and we sort of have basic rules for that, which we won't go over at this point. But and most of the time, when things are going well in school, nobody seems to show up. But believe me, if there's ever an issue that in school where parents are really concerned about something, you could get a number of people that might show up, and that's why we got to have a lot of rules around how much people can talk and how we deal with all this. So I think probably on Zoom here, if we don't have anybody at this point, we probably don't have anyone from the public who could talk. That's really just parents or anyone from the community who has an issue or would just like to say something to the school.
Sounds good.
School board.
Sounds good. We'll move right along to the approval of the minutes. Can we show them?
I can show them, sure. They were also sent via email from Susan McFall. Did everyone receive those, or did anyone not receive those, I should say?
If
Okay.
everyone has seen and reviewed, then probably we don't necessarily need to look at them here. Can I get a motion for the approval of the minutes?
I make a motion for the approval of the minutes.
Okay, well, we will approve. All those in favor, say aye, or voice their.
I second it.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
All those in favor of approval of the minutes, that's what I'm trying to get to, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Have any nays on the approval of the minutes? The approval of the minutes has so been approved.
Really quickly, before we move any further, just wanted to advise everyone that this meeting is being recorded and will be posted for public view. If anyone is against that, please let me know.
And we will move to the committee membership bylaws, Dr. Ross and Ms. Lane.
Kathy, do you want to talk about the other piece and I'll talk about the bylaws?
Sure, the bylaws
Or not, you're talking about, I think I'm talking about the committees. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Elisa, are you sharing your screen?
Sure, I can. One moment.
Okay. So DC Charter Board in the spring and summer took up an agenda item, and it was subsequently approved that all public charter schools would now comply with DC Open Meeting Act. And so it's basically the Open Meetings Act. Many of you have been on previous boards, may be familiar with it, but up until this time, it was started in October that public charter schools would have to comply with the DC Open Meetings Act. So we've taken the liberty to go into the bylaws as required by the statute to amend the bylaws accordingly. So are you sharing, Elisa? Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Under section 3, regular meetings, we've just added the legal language that all meetings of the Board of Directors shall comply with the requirements of the DC Open Meetings Act, the Open Meetings Act. And then we added a section 8 that speaks to community attendance. Basically that whenever the board meets in open session, the community is entitled to attend such a meeting. That's not a change in practice, which is now has to be in our bylaws. And that the Board of Directors shall from time to time adopt and enforce reasonable rules regarding the conduct of persons attending its meetings, as well as videotaping, which Elisa just acknowledged, televising, photographing, broadcasting, or recording of its meetings. So if at any time the chairperson, or in the absence of a chairperson, an individual serving as chair of the meeting reasonably determines that a behavior or conduct of an individual is disrupting an open session, the Board of Directors may have the individual removed. And it further goes on to say that the Board of Directors shall meet in closed session only for those purposes allowed by and pursuant to the processes prescribed by Open Meetings Act. An example of that could be a personnel matter or other legal matters. We also had to enhance language in section 9 under our minutes. Except as specified below, the minutes of all meetings of the Board of Directors shall be open to the public. And while we posted them before, now there's some further stipulations. So if the board deems it advisable to conduct all or part of a meeting in closed session, the written meeting of the board's next open meeting shall include a statement of the time, place, and purpose of the closed session, a record of the vote of each director as to closing the session, a citation of statutory authority under the DC Open Meetings Act for closing the session, such as a personnel matter or a legal matter, and a listing of the topics discussed, persons present, and each action taken during the session. Then the minutes and any tape recording of a closed session shall be sealed and not open to the public inspection unless required by the Open Meetings Act. So those are the only changes that we were required to make to comply with this new requirement. Does anybody have any questions?
So question, it was my understanding that as we continue our conversation about committee structures, that the meeting of those committees would not constitute a meeting that would be required to be open to the public?
That's
But is that
correct.
correct? Okay. And would that hold the same if we were to form an executive committee?
I
believe that's correct, but
Yes, I believe so. Yes, it's subject to what's in public, in your whole board meetings, where the entire board and quorum, and you're going to be meeting and making decisions. Whereas in executive committee, you may be meeting, but you would bring back any decisions that need to be made to this body.
okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Then I think, Dr. Ross, we can take it to the
Sorry,
committee.
just
Yeah.
one more point of clarification. So I know in our onboarding and other training sessions, we have talked about the need for a committee, maybe a governance committee, to really review the bylaws and recommend changes. This isn't doing any of that. This is just for the purpose of the Open Meetings Act regulatory compliance changes, correct?
Correct. We were required to make these changes.
Thank you.
So, and we'll need to vote to approve these changes, but Dr. Ross will review the section under Article 4 committees, some adjustments to that section as well. Page 7.
Andy, you're muted.
What we've done here with the committees is we've sort of collapsed the focus of committees. So we have three basic committees plus the executive committee of the board. And the executive committee would generally be the chairperson and heads of each of the other committees. So since we have three at this point, and the officers. So the three committees that we have are, the first one is a governance committee, and what we need to accomplish tonight is we need to make sure that in the governance, not just the governance committee, but we really populate each one of these committees, and that we have a chair of each committee. And the, and if we can pick officers tonight, I think that would be good as well. When you're thinking about the committee structure, let's just take a look at the governance committee. Then we'll take a look at the marketing, enrollment, finance, and facilities, and the parent engagement, academic excellence, and compliance committee. So as we go to the governance committee, we have three members who have signed up for the governance committee: Marie Caputo, Angelo Wong, and Michael Coran. And at this point, let's just get a sense of what that committee does. That committee is, first of all, one of the things it's going to do is look at bylaws, and probably one of the biggest bylaws issue, not the only one, but certainly one that needs to be dealt with, is that we do have something in the in our bylaws that indicates that what we need to do, it really, the parent representatives on our board are elected by the PTA. That's the way it exists in the bylaws. But part of our problem is that the PTA would essentially select and appoint their representatives onto the board. We've never really operated a PTA, so we really have no body to elect members who belong to the PTA, because we don't have one, to sit on the board. So I think that aspect of the bylaws needs to be reviewed, and we just need a vehicle to make sure that we can appoint parents in a way that's consistent with the organizational structure we have for parents. So that's one thing they would take up. Another thing that it's not even written here, but it's part of being the governance committee, is when we have people leaving the board, or if there's any special recognition. Also, when they talk about training and board retreats, the governance committee would basically be the one that would discuss issues like that, and anything pertaining to that would go to them for planning. They have a lot to do with board education. They are going to have to identify individuals that we're trying to recruit and put on the board. We recognize board members. We want to nominate and orient new board members, and also assure that we have board self-assessment as well. So there's a good bit that occurs when you're on the governance committee. You're also going to be involved in nominating people to serve as officers. So there's, if you sign up for the governance committee, that's what the work is in that area. So I don't know, is there any questions about the governance committee and what it does? Okay, hearing none. The next committee we have is the Marketing, Enrollment, Finance, and Facilities Committee. And I mean, I think this is really all the committees are really interesting, have interesting work, but this one particularly has an important task to do, and there's a lot of immediate issues that it needs to address as well as the governance has. On the one end, when we talk about the marketing, you're going to hear later on that we're talking about branding the school and rebranding the school. And one of the biggest issues we deal with is, what is our identity? What makes us unique as a school? And how do we promote ourselves and identify ourselves within the charter school community? So that's a big component of the marketing committee, and something that really has a lot to do with the actual existence of the school, because how we promote it and how we interpret ourselves to the community is really going to determine to a great deal how many people enroll in the school. Another part of this is, your basic things that go along a finance committee. One of those basic issues Charlie's here to talk about today. But you're really dealing with budgeting and the auditing factors. So those become important issues. And in our charter, in our work with the Charter Authority, we need to make sure that we always, maintain a certain amount of financial flexibility and cash so that we can operate. So that's a very important part of maintaining the charter school, is financial viability. Then I would say another aspect of this is the facilities committee, and we have some really big issues. The one thing we just need to resolve is there's no playground at our school, and one of the things we need to do is attract kindergarten students, first graders, and hopefully one day preschoolers. And without that playground, that's pretty much a real handicap. We have, Brian's been working on a playground. We've already have some basic ideas. We'll get some renderings. So one of the issues is we need to really take some action on the playground. The playground's a major expense, probably costs $400,000 to $500,000. So that is one big aspect of what we're doing. Another big aspect of what we're doing in the physical facilities is taking a look at the curb appeal of the building and how this all works in relationship to, when people come here, do we really look like a school or do we look like an office building? And there are, we have a group in DC has, no, I'm sorry, this group is in Prince George's County that has been involved in helping facilities such as ours identify themselves in the community. We're not known very well in Ward 5. it's important that we become known in Ward 5. The way that we would end up being known is if we can involve artists, politicians, just residents, people who are poets, and other people in the performing arts, something to get a buzz going that would somehow help them understand what this school is. And if we could create the exterior in such a way that it would not only have curb appeal and look more like an interesting school, or exactly what goes on here. In other words, bring what happens inside to the outside of the school, then people would start talking about this, it would get the word around, and it's one way of making sure that the people in Ward 5 really understand the school, and if they understand it, they think it's a cool school with an interesting curriculum and program, they might be willing to send their children to this school. So again, that's where the marketing and the physical facilities really come together. So that's basically the kinds of things that we're going to deal with here. And enrollment, obviously, is a big component of the finance structure. So you spend a lot of time meeting with Brandon Turner and Brian, talking about how you could increase enrollment, which is really one of our major things that we need to make sure we're constantly growing, is our enrollment. At this point, Yolanda Lusain has been willing to serve on the marketing committee, and we need a couple other people. We need at least 2 other people to serve on the marketing committee. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be an expert in marketing or finance or facilities. I think what's most important is that you're a good thinker. You want to, there's a lot of problem solving in this area that, and creativity in terms of, just bringing ideas, because we need a lot of good ideas in this area. So we need to make sure that we can get some additional people on the marketing committee. So is there any, go ahead.
Real quick, Andrew. We know that Yolanda is very interested in that committee and kind of leaning towards having her be the chairperson. Can you also talk about some of the support that this committee would be getting, so that, kind of how we're sharing the load, so to speak?
Yes, I think that, you would have, when you stop to think about, you have a lot of backup here, particularly if you want it and you need it. When we talk about marketing, we do happen to have a marketing and communications department at the Children's Guild. They'll be glad to engage and help you deal with some of these issues. We also have an outside marketing communications company that we work with, Bonnie Hennison Communications. In addition, when we're talking about finance, Charlie and his staff will be glad to work with you. So that becomes another support. When it comes to facilities, we have 2 excellent facilities people. One of those is, we recently hired, who manages a lot of the support staff at Johns Hopkins for years. So he would be here, Maurice. He could help out. We also have have Francisca Cadua, who is an architect and in charge of our facilities operations, or our operations department, and Chip Kruba, who works with the, the information technology component that's a big part of the school. So, this is what you have inside. And I forgot to mention again on the marketing end, we have Corey Griffin, who's our lobbyist, and his associate, Stephen Marcus. So these are other people that can assist us when we're talking about the various people and just people we need to know and have know us at the Children's Guild charter school. So I think you really have a lot of support in that area. We also have a design committee that assists with how we work with creating enriched environments at the school, and that are working here. There's still a lot of work in the setting up the enriched environments here at Children's Guild DC Charter School. So that's what's going on in that area. And then the last area really has to do with the parent engagement, academic excellence, and compliance. And so when you think about that, Tiffany Dunstan and Seema Thomas have agreed to sign up with for those two committees. And what's important about that is that, I think that we really haven't spent a lot of time thinking about how we can involve the parents more in our program. And I think there's a lot of things we can do in that area. So this would strengthen the school, because the more we can engage the parents, the more we can strengthen the school. It's also the committee that really focuses on staying up to date on our academic achievement at the school and the targets that we have at the school, to make sure that we're constantly moving forward in that area. And then when it comes to compliance, it's just being aware and getting regular reports to see how good our compliance is, because in a school, compliance is a really big task, and it takes oversight, not only of the staff but also the board. So when you're thinking about that, being on that committee, that's the committee that's, I guess, really focuses on the academic work and making sure that the parents are engaged. And of course, Brian's going to play a big role in that committee. You also have our special education compliance person working here as well. We, not only does Kathy know a lot about that, but so does Kelly Spino from our Chief of Organizational Learning and in our institute, and the staff that work there. So again, you have a lot of support if you join that committee. So at this point, Robert, it'd be helpful to know if you have anyone who's going to be leading the governance committee. Have you picked a chair for that?
Yes, for the governance committee, I picked Michael to chair that committee.
Okay, so there's one thing, and then that would mean that Michael would also be on the executive committee, because he would be the chair of one of our committees. And then for the marketing, I'm just wondering, is there anyone, when you heard about marketing, that says, yep, that sounds like to be a good committee for you. Because I have Myra Clark and let's see, I think Dana. I don't think Dana's here. Is Dana here today? Might have to call Dana. And because I think outside of that, Melody, Cleo, and Dana are the only other individuals that we have on the board, plus Myra, plus Jason Henderson and Charles McNeil. And I think that would be one thing that, since Jason and Charles I know would be excellent members, and we are going to set up a meeting with Charles to determine their interests. But that's one thing that the governance committee needs to do, is really make sure we can find out if they want to continue, because they haven't been coming to meetings. But on the other end, I know that when they came here, they really were interested in serving. So we just need to find out where they stand at this point. So that'd be another task of the governance committee, understanding their interest in continuing on the board and if they're really able to participate. So is Myra here today? Myra Clark?
Yes, I am.
Oh, Myra, what are you thinking about?
I was
In terms
thinking
of-
about the PEAC committee.
Oh, you like the parent engagement committee?
Yes.
Okay. And there'd be another person on that. And
I think one of the focuses should be on how to make sure that we have the voice of our Black and Latino parents.
That'd be good. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that I'm glad you're interested in that, because that's what I'm saying. I think that's really important. And I think there's a lot of things we can provide ideas if you don't have them, because there's a lot of other schools that have found ways of engaging parents. And I realize, it's not engaging parents might take some creativity here, but I think the one thing is to really find out what parents can do and what they really are interested in. I think if we find that interest, you'll see that they're engaged. And how about you, Melody and Cleo? Are you where are you interested in serving on the committees?
I wouldn't mind doing the parent engagement as well.
You would like to be on parents as well?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm sorry, was that Cleo?
Yes. Hi.
And I don't know, is Melody here tonight?
Ma'am.
I'm here.
Melody, what are you thinking when you hear about these committees?
I think my core focus needs to be also the parent committee.
All right. Well, we're going to have a strong parent committee. That's okay. So what, I don't know, when it comes to, we got Yolanda out there. We got to give Yolanda some help. And I think we might be, if we can get, I think we have to check with Dana, because I know Dana is an excellent person in finance, and I don't think that it's just that she's engaged in finance. I do know that Dana's excellent thinker. So, and that's what I'm saying. I think that people that like to deal with these puzzles that seem to be not only in finance, but also enrollment and marketing and how we're going to do these things. And maybe we need to do more recruitment on people that have an interest in that area. It's one of the things we could do for the board and see if we can't make that work. And I don't know, is there anything, Alicia, any names we haven't thought of that are on the board that aren't here tonight?
I think we are good. If we are missing any, I will definitely follow up after this meeting.
All right. And so, Robert, when it comes to the committee heads for marketing and the parent engagement, have you selected anybody for those two?
Yes, I was able to communicate with Seema, and she is willing to take on that chair role for now.
Okay, good. And I'll tell you,
for the marketing, I was going to default to Yolanda, but I guess we'll see between her and I'll, I guess, follow up with her and Dana or Ms. Bonds to find out, how strong their interest is in taking on that role as well.
okay. Well, the one thing I know is that Dana, because she travels a lot, has, she's missed a number of meetings. I think it's just important we just touch base with her and see where she is in relationship to that, in terms of her attendance.
Sure.
Okay, and then I think that the governance committee would still need to assist us in finding a treasurer, or a secretary. And again, remember this, the secretary's primary role is to sign documents, not necessarily take minutes, because Alicia takes care of that issue for us. So we do need an officer, and eventually we'll need, as we go forward, a vice chair. So in essence, that's what I got for the committee structure. Is there you think there's anything I've forgotten, Robert or Marie or Kathy?
The only thing that I might suggest is, as you look at the committee chairs who are already going to be executive committee members, maybe there might be an officer position that they would be willing to take on. Like, it seems like for Michael, the secretary position would align well with the governance committee, and maybe treasurer with that committee that has finance in it. And I know the vice chair is a little bit of a different role, but just a suggestion to streamline things.
Okay, yeah, that's right. We don't necessarily need to have, you can wear more than one hat. That's good. That'll work. So that, I guess that would be the end of that report.
Perfect. That would take us to, I guess, the movement of funds between Children's Guild entities by Mr. Gordon.
Just 1 second. We need to approve the changes to the bylaws.
Oh, yep, that's right.
Can we get a motion to approve the changes to the bylaws?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
And discussion about this, just so you're aware, I think the major changes, they still need to be looked at, but the major changes we're talking about here is we've created these 3 committees, and we've added the public law here, Open Meetings Act. So I think those are the major two changes that will be existing in this in the bylaw if you vote for this.
Watch his face.
All right, Rob, we can go ahead and move forward.
All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes? I mean, the bylaws?
Aye.
All those opposed? The approval of the bylaws has, the bylaws have been approved. So that would take us now to the movement of funds between the Children's Guild entities by Mr. Gordon. Presentation. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Seabrooks, and good evening, everyone. Charlie Gordon. I am now the CFO for the Children's Guild Alliance, and I'll be speaking to you about this movement of funds between the Children's Guild Alliance entities. That's all the entities. So by way of background, Children's Guild Alliance has loaned funds from time to time to the Children's Guild Limited, the DC Charter School, as well as some other entities. And what we're trying to accomplish now is the goal of this request is to maximize investment earnings, safeguard the health of the corporate entities by providing short-term transfers in order to leave contingency lines of credit available for emergency situations. So we have lines of credit with the bank. We'd rather leave them for an emergency because there's cash sitting within different entities that we can loan back and forth between the entities. This fits into the concept of resilience, which we've all had to rely on during this pandemic, and it allows all the Alliance entities to have flexible paths to address uncertainty. The Children's Guild Alliance Board approved this motion on November 17th, 2020 at its board meeting, and now we're coming to each separate entity within the Alliance for the same approval. So to understand, the Children's Guild Alliance or Children's Guild Limited could either be the lender or the borrower based upon each circumstance. Interorganizational short-term loans will bear the interest at 6%, which means if you lend money to another agency or organization within the Alliance, you will earn 6% on that investment, that short-term loan. At the same time, if you needed to borrow that money, you would pay 6%, which is currently what's established between Children's Guild and Children's Guild Limited. So in order to accomplish this, we need to set up a process of having this type of loan request or in either direction approved by a subcommittee of the board, and you've just formed a subcommittee that includes finance, and that would be where it would rest and reside within your board. We'd want to be able to make these loan requests in either direction on an ad hoc basis via email and have approval via email. And the way that this would be communicated would be through a straightforward funds transfer form that would explain the amount and the intended time of lending or borrowing to occur. And with that information transferred via email, we just request a reply by email of approval or denial. And you have every right at any given time to say yes or no. Also, so you know, we will set aside in any request any amounts that are set aside for the budget year for any capital expenditures, so that if there was $1 million in the bank and there was a $400,000 capital expenditure budget, no one entity would ever come to you and ask for more than $600,000, leaving your capital expenditure budget in place, so it would never jeopardize that. Conversely, if you needed more money for capital expenditures, you might be able to go to another entity within the Alliance to borrow such money. So there's a reserving there without officially setting up restricted funds, which is a technical accounting issue related to your tax exempt status, but it would allow for the free flow of funds. And so essentially at this point, this is the concept, and you'll have to have a motion within the board to approve or deny establishing this facility and this capability to move money amongst the different entities within the alliance. I'm open for questions.
Are the terms of the borrowing and repaying, are those defined up front, or are they defined each time a transaction's contemplated?
So the general terms of the interest rate and the amount that would be repaid on interest on a monthly basis if there's an outstanding balance, that will be established. An estimate of the amount of time that it would be, say we borrowed money, an estimate of the amount of time we would need to borrow that money would be part of that very transparent form that everyone could see. But we couldn't be held to it because it may be 35 days instead of 25 days. And we just don't know those things up front. And so to commit to them, we'll give you a general idea of what we're doing, but we can't be that specific just because things occur.
Right, but the rate of interest would be set. That would be.
That's set, and that's actually part of this motion. It is at that 6% rate.
And then as far as where we sit as an organization, are we in a position to give funds? Or are we a borrower? Or are we a little bit of both?
A little bit of both, and you have access to these from the other entities, and you have cash on your bank account as well. And again, this isn't any immediate thing that's going to occur. It's just establishing the facility up front rather than scrambling at some point in the future when some uncertainty appears, kind of like shutting down schools.
But the intention would be that these would be short-term
Yes.
arrangements.
Yeah, if there were a longer term need, we would go to the bank for a term loan.
Mr. Gordon might have froze up. Is he still here, Mr. Gordon? And he did freeze up.
Oops.
Or got booted, looks like. There he is.
Yeah, I froze up, so if someone asked another question, I apologize. It says my internet connection is unstable. So did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Charlie, I'm just wondering, so it's clear, if you need your money back, in other words, how soon, if there's something, put it this way, if you lent somebody borrowed your cash, and then all of a sudden you found out, say, 3 days later, 10 days later, whatever, something you didn't anticipate, and you needed the money back to purchase I don't know, something like a air conditioner or whatever the case is, and you felt like you needed that, you can get your money back.
Yes, so Andy, let me grab it from there. Yes, we could move the money back, and it would, if it wasn't still sitting in a bank account that from the original borrower, we could get it from one of the other members of the alliance and be able, because this facility exists with each entity within the alliance, we have to go money from one entity to another to cover these things. So whoever borrowed that, if they were unable to repay it 3 days later, they could borrow money from yet another entity and move that money back and then repay everybody when their cash was free.
Right. Okay, so there's enough float in the system to take care of.
Yeah, and beyond that, we have a line of credit with the bank that is untouched, so that if there were ever, and it's there for emergencies, we could certainly take care of that type of issue straight from the bank.
Any other questions or concerns for Mr. Gordon? Thank you so much. Having heard none, thank you so much, Mr. Gordon. And we are going to move on to our next presenter, Mr. Yep.
We need to make a motion and vote on it.
Oh, I keep forgetting that. All right, let's make a motion to or can we get a motion to vote on the movement of the funds between the Children's Guild Alliance entities? One motion.
So is the specific language that you're looking for somewhere? Is it in the minute, the agenda or something? What specifically are you asking for us to make a motion on, Charlie?
Establishing the ability to borrow and lend throughout the alliance, and to make approvals via email from the finance subcommittee.
Except the finance subcommittee is parent engagement. What is that committee called, Andy?
Marketing, enrollment, finance, and facility.
Yeah, no, it's the marketing.
Finance,
Yeah,
marketing, finance.
MEF, the MEF committee, marketing, enrollment, finance, and facilities.
Are people wanting, I guess, additional time to think on this, or? I think.
Can we have more time to think about it and table it for now?
I would like to actually read more on it and really get a full understanding. I'm not completely understanding what are we having a motion on.
Okay, so I will supply a document through Susan McFall. You'll receive it tomorrow, and you'll be able to read it from there.
So we'll table this for the
Thank
next.
you.
So we'll table this for the next meeting.
And Robert, not to keep this going any longer, but one of the things that just might help people, generally understand understand this. The Children's Guild really has like all these affiliates. So we have the Monarch Charter Schools, then we have the DC Charter School. So that's another facility. We have the Children's Guild, which is a third entity. We have the Trans Ed Apprenticeship Company, which is a fourth entity. And I don't know, we might have some, I'm probably missing something in there as well. We have the Children's Guild Fund Board, which is really, doesn't have much money in it, but at this point it's for the fundraising, and if people give us money and we keep cash in that fund. So really, in all these little segments, we would be borrowing from and loaning money from, back and forth. So there's about 4 or 5 segments that we're talking about here. And and keep in mind, like right now, I don't know, we have anywhere from maybe 11 million to as high as $17 million in cash at any certain time during the year. Which we'd be able to borrow or lend. So I think that if you can just keep that in your mind, that's the basic concept that's going back and forth. And what we're trying, and the other point that we're trying to make sure of is that we want to make sure that it's, because a lot of times these things need to happen rather quickly. We have a board meeting, but I think we meet every other month. So since everyday issues occur, what we would want to do is not have to wait till a board meeting to establish, to make a request and find out if we could borrow your money or you could borrow our money. So this is why we want to have the Marketing, Enrollment, Finance, and Facilities Commission or Committee be the group, because maybe 1 or 2 or 3 people on that committee could have the authority granted by the board. So let's just say you have $3 million in your account, your cash account, then, and if we wanted to borrow, if the Children's Guild wanted to borrow $500,000 from you, and that committee would know that we have 500, we have $100,000 worth of expenses and capital expenses that we're going to have this year. We got to buy a playground. We got to do something with our multi-purpose room, and I don't know, buy equipment, that kind of thing. So you know that $1 million is already spoken for. You got $3 million in your account, and at this point in time, you would have as much as $2 million to lend. So if somebody wanted to borrow $100,000 of it, you would have that money. So you wouldn't have to wait for a board meeting. The committee would be authorized to say, okay, you can borrow that money for a month or 60 days. We'll be glad to lend it to you. Or no, we can't afford to give you any of our cash. You'll have to look someplace else in another part of the organization. We need our cash. We're going to buy our playground for whatever reason, and we don't want to lend you the cash. So that's why we want to have that committee structure, to be able to call up somebody quickly, and we can, Charlie can work it out with the MEF committee, which is Marketing, Enrollment, Finance, and Facilities.
Right.
So keep that basic concept in your mind when you're reading.
Question, if I may. As I think about the larger group that you're referring to that would be involved in these transactions, except for us on the DC Children's Guild Charter School, I think everyone else is all the other entities. I think the other entities are included in a consolidated group. So there's, control and financial interest between those entities, where we differ a little bit in that we are more independent. And I could understand how it may not feel as necessary to ensure all the documentation and written agreements are in place within the consolidated group. But I'm wondering, for the DC Charter School, would we have some sort of agreement in place between ourselves and those other entities we would be lending and receiving potentially funds from?
So there would be the documentation that comes with the email request, and it formalizes. It would contain all the terms that you would need, and by us requesting and receiving approval and you signing it, we've created a valid contract. So it would all be legally documented in those terms.
Right, but if I were some of the folks on the committee, I would personally feel more comfortable if I knew that we had an agreement in place that had all the terms, that we felt were appropriate for us as a board, as an organization, and that when those emails come through, you highlight the things that are unique to the transaction, but you refer to this other document that has been approved by the full board. It would make me personally, not that I'm going to be part of the committee making those decisions if we were to move forward, but that would make me feel more comfortable, because I'm just doing an incremental approval and not having to refresh my memory each time, because we're referring to something that I know has been fully vetted and approved by the board already. Just a suggestion.
We're happy to prepare this type of document. It's a great suggestion. You'll also see in what you receive tomorrow by email, the discussion of this, that some of those details are in there. I just did not bring them out in my presentation. But there's actually the way we calculate interest, all of that is spelled out in this document you'll receive tomorrow. That's not what you're asking for specifically, but it will give you more clarity into that. And we can certainly prepare a formal document that creates this facility.
Okay.
Now, Annie, I know you said you kind of didn't want to have to wait till the next board meeting to have this kind of ironed out. Is there anything that's imminent that's going on that we kind of need to make sure that, okay. So if that's the case, you know, I'm comfortable with everybody kind of getting another look at this information that's been presented and communicating their concerns to the MEF committee. And then maybe the MEF committee can bring it to us if there is an issue that everybody needs to really kind of hone in on.
My just overarching ask would just be that we have a more formalized memorandum of understanding or overarching, you know, agreement that is that relates to all of these incremental approvals that would be requested through the MEF, and that overarching agreement is something that goes in front of the board for approval and signature. That would be my request.
We'll have it prepared.
Or my request to the committee or to you as the board chair, Rob. I'm not saying that my just because I wanted it should happen, but that's just my ask that we
Understood.
consider.
Well, let us not forget that I think we're lucky to have Marie, just given her expertise in not-for-profit accounting in general and auditing. And I guess that just reminded me that if for some reason, you know, as you just think about it, when we meet in 2 months here, that it doesn't, you know, it's just a suggestion that this be the MEF committee. You can make it any committee you want, or you could pick whatever experts you want on the board to also be the one that reviews this to, you know, if it gives you more comfort. So somewhere along the line, I'm just saying it's all open. These are all just ideas and recommendations, but it's still up to the board to figure out whatever structure it has to, if it does decide to do this, to, you know, to make it work. We're just suggesting that it be the MEF committee, but on the other end, you may find another way to deal with this that you want to make it happen.
And Rob, I would suggest, just in building off of what Andy said, and I know you're still building out your executive committee, but maybe that's a better defined, you know, group to run that decision making through versus the other committee that was mentioned.
Yep.
But just a suggestion to consider.
Noted. So we're going to hold off on motioning on the approval of that decision from that presentation until our executive and MEF committee have kind of talked things through a little bit after this information has been sent out to everybody. So that's going to bring us to the next couple of different issues on the agenda. I just want to I'm just going to ask that we try to keep it to 10 minutes talking time per each of these different items to kind of make it through the entire meeting. I know we're a little bit behind right now if I'm using that math to get through the rest of this meeting. So you might see me raise my hand as you get to 8 or 9 minutes into your presentation. That just kind of lets you know, hey, kind of wrap up where you're at, and if need be, let's take it to the next meeting for further discussions. So with that stated, I'm going to ask Mr. Daniels to bring his principal's report.
All right. So let's have some fun in 8.5 minutes. So welcome back, everyone, to another wonderful board meeting here at the Children's Guild. Let me see if I can get this slideshow to pop up. All right. So as you all know, we are still teachers are still teaching 100% virtually from their homes. We are in the hybrid format where we do have a couple of students that are in the building. We'll get into a little bit more about the particulars around that a little later. But just a quick overview. We are still learning as we continue to move through this virtual learning platform. One of the things that I will say that has been key has been the collaboration between the Children's Guild DC all of the Monarch schools, and also our non-clubs around what has been working in all of the instructional venues. We have expanded our application and our resources across the internet with applications and programs such as Lexia. You know, we've been working with iReady for years now, Kami, Peer Deck, Zoom, Google Classroom, Google Meet, and a lot of other interactive websites. Teachers they just have a bundle of things to kind of pull from right now because they have to figure out what exactly works for each individual student. Because one of these platforms may not necessarily be the best way to engage their kids. So they have a bundle to be able to pull from. Teachers have been using their creativity and their resources to tap into teachers from other schools and getting other activities that are involved, like pen pals, and they're writing letters and persuasive arguments to one another so that they can work on their writing skills while they're still in this virtual learning platform. We have, of course, small group instruction that is still happening in all of the classrooms, whether it is a general ed classroom, or a self-contained classroom. We do have a number of TBAs that are that we brought back to work that are not furloughed. They are the primary instructional support for students that are in the building in a hybrid format. But these TBAs, our behavior coaches, and all of our teaching assistants have access to technology that we have provided to them, and they are becoming another resource and another engaging adult for our students to be able to tap into. So not only do they have the teacher in their classroom, they can reach out to behavior coaches, they can reach out to TBAs, they can also reach out to social workers, along with some of the resource instructors that are in the building to make sure that they're able to get their individual needs met when they are having situations in the classroom. Teachers have what are they called? Office hours also that are on Wednesdays and multiple days in the evening. Some of our teachers are working with kids until 5 and 6 o'clock in the evening just because they want to make sure that they're getting that individualized support. So teachers have been a great resource for our kids. And in February, when we come back, we'll have a lot more data for you as we will have then completed our mid-year assessment, so that we'll be able to compare the data from the beginning of the year that we gave you in the last meeting to where they are functioning now on the instructional platform. One of the other things that we've had that have happened while we're on this distance learning platform, through our Zoom and through our Google Classrooms, we've had multiple authors that have come in and talked about their writings with kids. Winifred came into one of our 6th grade classrooms and had an interactive reading session with our kids and talked about the basis of the story and how it was formulated and the processes that she went through, which is, again, just the way that we are looking to engage our community and things that are going on in our area to make sure that kids are engaged. This was another one of the authors that came in to the classroom, and of course, just the title alone was extremely engaging for our kids. But they were just able to use this story as in this book. All of these books are really based around kids of color or things that are going on in the city. This particular book was the setting was actually in inner city Chicago, so they were able to kind of relate and talk around things that were happening in Chicago that are relative right here in the District of Columbia. This book here, Slug. So Tony Lewis Jr. is actually an activist right here in the District of Columbia. And does a lot of book readings and interactions with kids in middle school and high schools throughout the area. He happens to be the son of a somewhat famous drug lord here in DC, where his father was the right-hand man to a gentleman by the name of Rayful Edmond, who ran a very, very intense drug cartel in the District of Columbia in the late 80s. That kind of reset the structure of our city in terms of how drugs and everything impacted our environment. And he went a different route from his dad and created this book and just a line of of ways to impactfully talk to students in the city to make sure that they know that there is a different route that they can take no matter where they come from or the trauma that they've been through. There's a way out if they choose to make the right decision. So our kids had an opportunity to interact with all three of these authors, and we have several more that are coming back. Tony is actually coming back, I do believe, in February. So the kids got a lot from out of those activities just from a virtual platform. So they were in Zoom, and it was just a great experience for them to be able to be a part of that. In the last meeting, I'm kind of pushing through because I don't want to go over time. Does anybody have any questions yet? Okay, so I know in the last meeting we talked about potentially opening up to 50 students for the reentry. That number has diminished a lot. A lot of our parents, once the increases began to happen with the positive COVID cases in the area and in the surrounding areas, a lot of them pulled back from sending their kids to school. So at the moment, we are only approximately serving eight students in the building per day on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. On Wednesday, the building is closed to all students and staff except for the maintenance crew as the building goes through a deep clean. So it is deep cleaned on Wednesday, and it is also deep cleaned on Friday evening, so that it is good and clean by the time we get back to school on Monday. We are still in the process of collecting outstanding student data around their health, immunization, and dental documentation. So all of this stuff for any students, whether it's now or whether it's later, when we get back into a more fluid hybrid reentry, all of this documentation has to be provided to the school before kids can be let back into the school building. We are at this point just using 3 small buses in order to transport these small cohorts into the building. So they are riding the school and home with the same kids. So they are being transported in the same cohorts. In between each of the routes, the buses are being COVID cleaned by the bus company. When the kids are picked up in their neighborhoods at their bus stop, the monitors complete their temperature check before they get on the bus, ask them the 3 COVID questions that we would ask anybody that's coming into the building. And they bring in those are like their entry slips into school, and they bring them to school, turn them in, and we enter them all into the database here at the school. After the holiday, we have made a decision where we are going to look at going back to 100% virtual from the 4th until the 19th, just to ensure that we are able to go back to a clean and a safe reentry, a safe school environment for all of our students and all of our staff. As we know, some of them are going to be around separate people that they aren't normally around due to the holidays. So we just want to make sure that we're being safe and creating a safe environment for our kids to come back to, and also our staff. From a staffing perspective, we are only down a speech and language pathologist, which is currently being filled by a partner. So we are not missing any services. All of our services are being provided, but we are still looking to fill that full-time position. This is just some basic overall data that we can get into at another time. One of the things that we'll have to talk more about really is around the attendance rates that are somewhat low right now, as we are dealing with the synchronization of our Synergy system and the information that gets reported out to OSSI, and also the way that our staff are able to code in whether or not we're talking about excused absences, and also synchronous versus asynchronous attendance. So a lot of the attendance data is still being worked on so that it is truly reflective of how kids are participating, because this number, all 3 of these numbers are still quite low. The codes for attendance actually changed in between September and October, and a lot of work has just had to be done to go back and make corrections on that data. Ms. Giles and the attendance team have been working extremely hard to make sure that happens. Parent town halls are still happening for all of our parents. To date, we've had them on virtual support and teaching for parents, and making sure they have a good understanding of how to access their children's Google platform, so they can see what work has been submitted, what work is still outstanding, so they don't have any questions around whether or not their kids have been doing their work. We transitioned into November into being focused around helping our 8th grade students and parents get acclimated to back to My School DC as they're looking to secure a firm high school placement, as that time is open up for them to start making their next inquiries as to where it is they're going to go to high school in the upcoming future. This is like one of the most amazing things that's ever happened to me as an educator. We got a phone call from a former board member that works down at the Capital One Center, and John called and said that, you know, Brian, I think we have an opportunity here for our kids. And I ended up on the Zoom phone call just this past I don't know, I think it was Sunday night. And this young man right here, Russell Westbrook, who is the newest Washington Wizard, is purchasing a pair of Jordans for all of our students for Christmas. So we are getting ready to have an absolutely awesome event. And not only is he gifting all of the kids these shoes, but he is actually going to show up at the school and pass them out. So next Monday, we are looking at having an absolutely awesome start to the holiday season for a lot of our kids. And again, just making a great partner and a great young man that has been in our city for less than a week now and has already started to make an impact and be a part of the DC community. So we are extremely excited about this opportunity. His chief of staff is also putting together gift bags that have a couple of other things in it, so they'll be able to come up. You know, the shoes will also be in the bag. We've collected all of the shoe size of all of the students. I'm getting that information compiled and sent up to them tonight. So we are looking at having one awesome holiday experience for all of our kids. And I get giddy every time I start to talk about it, just because, you know, this type of thing just doesn't happen for everybody. So really excited about that. We have started a rebranding process for ourselves as a school, and this is going to be, this is essentially, you know, who we are. This is going to be our catchphrase. This is going to be our motto, and we're looking for anybody that wants to follow their art. So follow your art is around achievement, readiness, and transformation. We're going to be looking to become, you know, the one elementary / middle school in the District of Columbia that is looking to push performing and visual arts to the kids in the District of Columbia. Right now, there is not another elementary or middle school that is cornering that market, so to speak. So we are looking to be a funnel to other performing arts schools in the area. We have reached out to schools such as Duke Ellington and also schools in the surrounding area, whether it be in PG, Anne Arundel County, just to kind of get some ideas around things that they've done, so we don't have to reinvent the instructional wheel. To make sure that we're able to get this off of the ground, we've created a whole new performing and visual arts group that we'll talk a little bit more about as well. So we're really excited about the follow your art perspective of who we are. Dr. Ross earlier talked about some of the equipment that we've been purchasing for our kids to become more active with when the gym opens up. We don't have access to the gym yet, so we kind of put some of the things together in our cafeteria, which is a space that can't be used right now while we're in hybrid learning anyway, and have created this space. We actually had somewhat of a, it's not a fogger, I forget what it's called, but it's kind of a mist cleaner, the same thing that's used on the buses to be able to clean all of our equipment, and staff will wipe these things down in between uses. Again, this is something that the smaller kids are able to go into that are in the building to utilize this space just to get some energy out. Our occupational therapists can also bring their students in to be able to work on skills that they are doing for their services. So we just figured we might as well put together a usable space for kids to be able to come and do some activities on. And this is how we've put the space together.
Excuse me, Brian. Brian, this is tremendous and great. I just want to make sure that we can get to everything else on the agenda.
And I'm
So,
done.
yeah.
Yeah, so I was down to this last slide. I think a lot of you have seen this video. If you haven't seen it, it's on it's on the website. Please go on and watch it and hear from some of our staff members and some of our students. And that's my report for today. Sorry for my 6.5 minute go over.
No, we're excited. We're just as excited as you are.
Covered a couple of the other agenda items. So, Rob, I think we have some extra time because he covered the hybrid plan and the rebranding plan in that report.
Okay.
Brian, why don't you go ahead and show it?
Oh,
I think we found we
Because
have.
it looks like you combined your report with the hybrid plan.
all right now. I'm trying to be efficient. I need some water. Am I still sharing? Let me
Yep.
stop for a second just to make
All
sure I hit the volume on it. Share computer sound. I did. Give me 1 sec, guys. I'm gonna...
Kathy, will you be showing anything when you give, I guess, the annual report while he's talking? If not,
Yeah, I was going to share the document.
okay.
Kathy, you go ahead. I have to, for some reason my video is not playing.
Okay. Are we on the annual report?
Yes.
Okay. Elisa, I just sent you a better link. So each year, every public charter school is required to submit an annual report reflective of the previous school year's outcomes. And so this document was sent to you shortly after the last board meeting in draft form for your input. And I know we got input from at least one board member, and there were very thoughtful questions that you had. So it's a very comprehensive report that basically talks about our entire school program and the outcomes that our students are achieving to fulfill the mission. Gives you opportunity to highlight any unique accomplishments and a number of data points. That's predominantly the bulk of the report. So we can send you the final draft, the final copy that was sent to the DC Charter Board, and they use this information to post on their website to hold us accountable for our goals for our charter agreement. And again, the whole team contributes significantly to this very comprehensive basically audit of our entire school program and business operations. So it's instructive, I think, as new board members to really understand all the work that's going on and all that the school staff are required to deliver, to document, and to achieve in order to sustain, our charter with the DC Charter Board. So if the members of the board are interested, it's a pretty substantial document. We can certainly send it to you for your review in final form, or at least for your records, if that would be helpful.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so we can send this document with the minutes. You know, it's a really, it's the best way to really understand all that's going on at the school, and to understand all of the expectations the school is held accountable to. And again, we have to submit this annually, generally on September 30th. This year, there was an extension to October 30th, and the document was submitted in a timely fashion. Does anyone have any questions about the report? Okay.
Kathy, is there a response to this report that will be coming back to the board from the Charter Authority, or is it just, it's submitted and just goes in as our record?
It's submitted into the record. There's no approval per se of the charter board
Okay.
of the report. Any other questions? Okay.
And I don't know annual report, so there's definitely still some time. But Brian, are you ready to show the video? We still wrestling with it. So we can go to the next presentation, which is the Middle States accreditation process and timeline. Oh.
Hello everyone, my name is Brian Daniels and I'm the principal of the Children's Guild DC Public Charter School. I'm here to just share with you a little bit about who we are.
You have to extend the screen, Mr. Daniels.
Hey, Brian, I also sent the video to Elisa, so she has it queued up. So if you want, I can show it when I do the...
What we are and why we do what we do. We are...
All right, yeah, you go ahead and you can start off with it then, Brian.
Okay. I don't think we're there in the meeting yet, but when we get to the admissions part, I'll have Elisa play it.
Where are we now?
We're at the middle school accreditation process and timeline.
Yeah, so I'll share, Lisa, if you wouldn't mind posting the self-study timeline. So as part of our charter requirements, we're required to become an accredited school. And becoming an accredited school is a very comprehensive process. It's a national accreditation, and there are a couple of accrediting boards. We elected to go with the Middle States Accreditation Board. They're highly reputable. Most schools in the country are accredited by Middle States. And so we are in our self-study timeline right now. You'll see in the first column, 12 to 18 months before the visits, we've already completed all of those action steps. And 7 to 12 months before the visit, we've completed our standard surveys and our descriptive summaries. Our application has been submitted and approved, and we are now preparing for our visit this spring. And so where we are right now, we're about 4 to 6 months before the visit. We're working on our plan. We've formed subcommittees to address all of the elements of the accreditation process by which we'll be evaluated on a 3-day site visit in the spring. And as we get closer, we'll be working on kind of a 7-year action plan and identifying any technical review of the objectives that we'll have to complete. And we'll do that, in partnership with the Middle States Accrediting Board and with their support. and we'll bring each, step along the way before this board for their review and information, so that you're informed as to what we're submitting and the work that's been accomplished. But I point you back to the annual report, because that annual report really covers most of the areas that an accredited school are required to demonstrate. So a lot of the information that we're preparing for our visit is embedded in the annual report. So I just wanted this board to be aware of where we are in the process. We're about 4 to 6 months before our visit, and we're right on track to meet the accreditation standards, come this spring. Are there any questions related to?
Kathy, I'd just like to commend you for this kind of work. I could see that it's a major task, but it's really going to make a tremendous difference in our school just going through this, and I think really move us forward, not only as a school, but also academically. So it's great.
Well, the school leadership, Brian and Alice, Renisha, and the whole team do a phenomenal job. I mean, I can't overstate, how much documentation and reporting requirements are imposed upon this little school of 280 kids, and you're operating as an entire local education agency, same as Prince George's County or Anne Arundel County or district public charter schools. And as one single school, you're required to meet all the expectations, and you have to do all the work that normally an entire central office would put behind a school in order to accomplish that. And Brian and his leadership team just really do a stupendous job of meeting all these requirements in a timely fashion, maintaining great relationships with the staff at DC Charter Board, and just working collaboratively on all the many criteria and requirements that they have to meet. So really hats off to the school team.
Thanks, Scott. So team effort over here. It is, I'm just happy to be a part. Y'all know I'm still kind of gaga over what's going on right now.
I told him, he got his Christmas gift early. He was like, on Christmas morning when he got that call. I'm telling you. Event, and we want to invite any board members who feel comfortable coming to the event. Once we get more of the logistics from the Westbrook Foundation, they'll be handling kind of how the event runs, and we'll keep this board informed, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of media attention. And Robert, you as the board president may want to participate if you're available during the time frame it's going to be held. We don't have a lot of the details yet, but as soon as they become available, we'll be sharing with this board.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And we're hoping to nurture the relationship into a long-standing partnership. His foundation has adopted schools in all the other cities where he's played basketball, and developed, initiatives like creating a whole reading room, and being a partner in the arts at another school where he played. So he's really committed to giving back to the community in which he plays, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to nurture this relationship into a long-standing partnership that will serve our children.
Absolutely.
Definitely an awesome development.
Yeah.
Any other questions or concerns about the accreditation process? That presentation. Having heard none, we will move to the enrollment report, marketing and branding for the recruitment window from Mr. Turner.
Good evening, everyone. Alicia, thank you. So currently our enrollment is 281 students and 12 non-public students. Our goal is to get back to 350. And in order to do that, once we factor in graduation and a 10% retention rate, we would need 150 students. That's an increase of 50 students than one of our better years. I'll put it like that. This year was a down year. We brought in 54 students. Overall, we enrolled 67 students. And something to really take a look at is 90% of the students that we registered were registered by the end of the school year. So we really struggled in the summertime with generating interest, and we really struggled with generating registrations. And we lost 19 students just to the fact of families changing their mind and saying, you know, we're in the middle of a pandemic, we don't want to make a big change going from school to school, and they decided to stay with their current school. We were strong at our retention rate this year. That's actually one of the areas that we wanted to improve in. This year we came in at a 12% retention rate. In previous years, that was well over 20%. So good job to the school, good job to Brian. We really made a lot of efforts earlier in the year to get those families registered. And Melody, I know she's on the call tonight. You know, kudos to Melody. She really put a lot of hours in contacting families and making sure that they're registered. If anybody isn't aware of the registration process in DC, it's above and beyond. Let's say that. You gotta do registration documents for IC, which is pretty hefty, and then you gotta turn around and do registration documents for our internal documents. And this year we were able to transition to a virtual platform where families can register online. So the pandemic, it wasn't all bad. It actually forced us to be a little bit more creative and innovative and move forward with our registrations and not require families to come into the building and do everything manually. So going back to the numbers, a lot of the reason why you hear conversations about rebranding and what direction that we need to go moving forward is because of the amount of students that we need going into next year, which is 150. And anybody that's ever worked in marketing or sales, you know, to increase your enrollment or your sales from this year 50 students, last year 106 students, to which we feel like last year was more of a normal year. But even going from 106 to 150, we know we need to do something different. So that's where we started the conversation with the rebranding. I feel like we're in the beginning phases. And the reason why I say that is because I always like to take a look at what's working and what's not working. If we have to go back and make some changes because people were looking for a different type of response, then, you know, we'll table that conversation and go back and have the meetings and the necessary conversations to get to where we need to be. But everybody is committed to the work. Like Brian had mentioned before, like I'm just excited to be a part of a group of people that even in the midst of change and, you know, adversity, that they're still showing up to work every day, doing everything that's possible for these kids. So the plan that I have created and I can submit to the board, it consists of a SWOT analysis. It has our data from last year. It has our data for this year that's needed for the number of students for us to get back to 350. It has our marketing dollars and how we plan to spend our marketing money. And we also have calendarized some dates, some upcoming dates that we're preparing for with our open houses, starting with the lottery that opened up today, actually. First, I'll ask, before I move to the video and the marketing material that has been created, any questions with any of the information that I've shared so far?
Brandon, are you going to be able to, I mean, do you anticipate there's going to be, I forget what you call, like EdFest or anything like that this year?
Yeah, EdFest was actually this past Saturday, Dr. Ross. They had some video issues, which was expected with the amount of schools and exhibitors that participated. It was well over 200 schools that participated. It wasn't like the best settings for us because it was in alphabetical order, and we are in the T category, so we were close to the bottom.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, which is a little bit different than a live setting because families get to walk around and see the different exhibits, and you know, we didn't have an opportunity to have a real good showing this year because everything was virtual.
I got you.
EdFest was this past Saturday. A lot of reopened up today.
And I talked to a couple other schools, just for your information, Dr. Ross. There were not very many schools that got any leads or any visitors into their virtual website on Saturday. And to kind of kill it on top of that, it was actually a really nice day outside. So it was a day where people actually would have come to EdFest, but because it was all virtual, people were like, I'm going to sit out on my porch or in my backyard. They're like, we've been on the computer all week long. I'm not going to sit inside on a 60-degree day and look at schools because I'm school burnt out right now. So it was just an all around, I think, negative experience for most schools around just the day.
Yeah.
Do we know, or is there an opportunity to leverage the event on Monday and kind of market that for our school in any type of way?
Yeah, I think just based on the conversations that I had with Brian, and he called me Sunday at 8:30. I thought something was wrong. FaceTime me. I was like, man, you okay? Like, is this an accident? Like, what's going on? And he was that excited about Monday's event. And I think just based on our conversations, the direction that we want to go in is to have the event and then market the event after the fact. I think we're a little hesitant to promote it beforehand because the small street that our school is located on, our students wouldn't even be able to get to the school.
Oh, right.
So, but yes, we have began conversations on, okay, after the event, like how can we use this to generate a positive buzz about the school, not only in Ward 5, but to our target market in Ward 6 and 7.
Rob, I would also expect that Westbrook Foundation will be leading the PR piece. So I think we're just going to be able to link from his foundation's website, any like high quality marketing materials too. I'm sure they're not going to keep this private.
Right.
No, she was very clear that to be ready for media and press. So I mean, if it's not just them sharing the event with us through their website or through whatever videos that's created, it's probably going to end up on Fox or Channel 9 News or whether it's just the DC local channel. But it's gonna be circulated.
Okay.
Sorry, Brandon, did you have any more? Did you want to share the video?
Yes. So first, Elisa, can you please share the flyer, and then we'll show the video. So this is the flyer that began in conversation and meetings that we had our communications team create. We wanted to go the simpler route, something that encourages the family to take an action step. And as you can see there, we're encouraging them to use their phone to take a picture of the QR code to go to our website. And from there, you go to our website and that you're going to have a lot of information on our school and of course how to apply and register for our school. But we are definitely promoting the arts this year.
So with that, just so the board is aware, we have a kickoff meeting on Wednesday with the visual performing arts team that Brian has assembled. And we've developed a 6-month project management plan that outlines all the action steps that we'll need to take in order to be prepared to open in the fall with an integrated arts approach, and then to move forward with a request for an addendum to our current charter with DC Charter Board next year that's reflective of adding a visual performing arts component to our agreement, and becoming the only pipeline or feeder school to Duke Ellington's Performing Visual Arts School. There's no other performing visual arts K-8 school in the DC charter portfolio. So we really feel that if we leverage this effectively, it will be, this kind of rebranding will really help us stand more apart in the city and thereby increase our enrollment targets.
Kathy, would you say, I mean, I know you're going to put up the performing arts camp this summer, and last year we were planning to find a way to make sure that our kids in DC would have a chance to travel and be a part of that summer camp. Is that still in your plans?
We're just launching the camp of at Annapolis, in our Annapolis charter school. Part of our charter is a performing visual arts school. So that's what we're really working on up there right now. And we'll be having a big summer camp this summer. And so we had discussions last year. We were getting ready to do it last March when COVID hit. And then so of course we weren't able to hold the camp, but there have been discussions at that time whether we open up opportunity for some of our DC kids to come up to Annapolis for a summer camp in the performing visual arts. So there's really nothing to prevent us, from doing that. And it certainly can be part of the planning efforts. We hadn't gotten there yet, to that point yet.
Okay.
This year.
Before we show the video, how long is the video? Because I know there's about 7 or 8 minutes left before it gets to 8.
So it is 4 minutes, 4 and some change.
And we do
4 minutes
have,
and 30 seconds.
and we do have one more topic to get to. Can we play the videos at the end or maybe send them out afterwards?
Yeah, sure. Whatever works for the group.
Yeah, because I want to make sure we get to this next item if there's enough time for it. If there's not enough time for this last item, then yeah, we can do the videos now. And that last item is actually the facilities upgrade, playground and gym space update. Do we have enough time to discuss that right now?
We covered that in his principal's report, and Dr.
Okay.
Ross addressed it briefly, unless the board had any, questions related to that. We're moving forward with all the action steps necessary to get the playground, and we're finalizing the gym renovation. And that will also be working on expanding space in the gym to become more of a performing visual arts area, including the installation of a stage. And we've got some sound equipment that's already been delivered to the school. And so we'll be working to be able to use that space for the performing visual arts as well.
So Rob, that line item will probably have a lot more information to report out on in February.
Okay. Okay, well, it's video time then, as far as I'm concerned.
Get to see some kids.
Yes.
No video, Lisa.
No sound.
video.
There's no sound.
There we go.
Brian, I think you have to unmute.
It's not me.
He doesn't have to unmute to share a sound.
It's me. Hang on, coming right up.
I gave up.
We've been throwing things at you all night, Elisa.
I got it.
Thank you.
Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you turn it up a little, Lisa? Can you turn it up a little louder, Casey?
The sound is really low.
Yeah.
Can anyone else hear it? You have to turn the sound up.
Each and every one of these staff members, and our kids feel that love every time they come to our building. And right now, they're feeling that love right when they're in their virtual classrooms. So if you are looking for an environment for your kids to be loved, for them to be taken care of, and for them to be pushed academically and to be pushed socially so that they are able to meet all of the social and emotional requirements of the city, of the District of Columbia, look into the Children's Guild DC. We may be the right home for you. Thank you and enjoy this video.
I am here because theater changed my life. It's taken me a lot of places. It's allowed me to meet a lot of different people. It's given me tools that I can use outside of performing, and I want to give that to my students.
What I like about acting is that you can act with different emotions as if you are a character.
Well, this work is a higher calling. I've been called to do this work for almost 25 years now. And I get so much joy when I see my students as well as other people being affected by what I implement to them to, you know, be connected with the world through music.
I like that when you sing, people don't judge you.
For me, being a creative, the arts is my life. And it's very seldom you hear students say, when I grow up, I want to be a singer, or I want to be an actor or a dancer. But instead you hear a teacher or a doctor or a lawyer. And there's nothing wrong with that, but they get the opportunity to be exposed to a more, this might be biased, but a more, you know, decent way of living, which is the arts for me.
When I started acting, I was told you have to believe in yourself and in the people that you are teaching you.
The fact that our amazing administration staff thought that we were, that our kids needed this, and they didn't just think it, they followed through. It shows that we love our kids and we're here to support them through whatever.
The reason we get out of bed and that we're able to feel energized and to do what it is that we do is because of you and because of all of your classmates. So drum it up, talk it up, talk to your classmates. Let's start to get some actively engaged students to be able to do things, not just in an environment like this, but on different, virtual and social platforms.
We're learning and we're growing together intellectually and just as humans and people, tiny people. They're smart and they deserve a space to grow freely, and I'm going to give them that.
For those students that are having a difficult time doing virtual learning, for me, the advice that I would give is, first, virtual learning is new to all of us. And even us teachers, we're still trying to figure things out as well. So it's okay to mess up. It's okay to not be 100% sure about what you're doing or how you're going to do it. But it's just a matter of sticking in there, giving your best, giving your absolute best, and just always taking that E for effort.
Now it's time that we put our kids first.
Why wouldn't you put kids first? It's time to put kids first.
Do everything right now with a purpose, all right? Be great on purpose. That's what it is that we do.
Excellent. Really great work, great video. Yeah. That stated, is there any other business that we need to bring up at this point? Coming up? Anybody?
Not from our end.
All right, I will, can we get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn. I'm sorry.
I got a second.
I second.
All those in favor? Say aye. Any opposed? Having heard none opposed, we will adjourn this meeting of the Board of Directors for the Children's Guild on December 14th. Thank you, everybody, for participating. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, everyone. Have a happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. See you Monday.